Marcus wiped the grease from his hands as he stood in the shadow of the derelict freighter. The Outer Rim station was quiet tonight, too quiet. Most mechanics avoided Dock 7 after dark, but Marcus needed the credits. The war with the Drakari Empire had left everyone desperate. The distress beacon had led him here, to what appeared to be an abandoned cargo bay. But as he approached, he heard it, a low, rumbling breath that made the deck plates vibrate beneath his boots. "Hello?" His voice echoed in the cavernous space. Two pairs of luminescent eyes opened in the darkness, each the size of a dinner plate. Marcus stumbled backward as two massive forms emerged from the shadows. Dragons. Real, actual dragons. Creatures he'd only seen in Drakari propaganda feeds. Their scales shimmered like liquid mercury under the dim station lights, and their wings, though folded, could easily span the width of a small spacecraft. They were magnificent, and they were injured. "Please." A voice resonated in his mind, feminine and desperate. "We mean no harm." Marcus's hand had instinctively moved to the plasma cutter on his belt, but he froze. Telepathy. Of course they could speak telepathically. "You're hurt," he said, forcing his voice steady. His eyes traced the deep gashes across their flanks, the way one dragon favored her left foreleg. "Our ship was attacked by human forces." The second voice came, deeper but equally strained. "We crash-landed here. We cannot return to our people in this condition." Marcus should have run, should have called station security. The Drakari were the enemy, everyone knew that. They'd scorched 3 human colonies in the last year alone. But as he looked at these two beings, bleeding and vulnerable, he saw something he hadn't expected. Fear. "I'm a mechanic, not a doctor," Marcus said slowly. "But I know basic xenobiology. Let me see." The dragons exchanged a glance, then the female, he could tell by the more delicate features, lowered her massive head toward him. "You would help us? Your kind and ours are at war." "Your kind and my kind are at war," Marcus corrected, pulling out his medical scanner. "But right now I'm looking at 2 injured people who need help." "Politics can wait." Over the next 4 hours, Marcus worked tirelessly. The wounds were worse than they appeared, plasma burns that had seared through scales and into muscle tissue. He used everything in his kit: regenerative gel, synthetic skin grafts, even jury-rigged a thermal regulator from spare ship parts to help stabilize their body temperatures. The dragons, Zara and Corinth, they'd told him their names, watched him with something approaching wonder. "Why are you doing this?" Corinth asked as Marcus sealed the last of his wounds. "We are supposed to be monsters to you." Marcus sat back, exhausted. Maybe that's what they want us to think about each other. "Makes it easier to keep fighting." He looked up at the massive being. "But you're not monsters. You're just people, scared, hurt people." Zara shifted, her scales rustling like wind chimes. "You risk much by helping us, Marcus Reeves. If your authorities discover what you've done—" "They won't," Marcus interrupted. "I'll make sure of it." As the station's artificial night deepened, the 3 of them sat in companionable silence. Marcus shared his rations, protein bars and recycled water, which the dragons politely declined, though they seemed touched by the gesture. "There is something you must know," Zara finally said, her mental voice heavy with significance. "Something we must ask you to keep secret." Marcus nodded. "I'm listening." Corinth moved closer, his massive form somehow gentle. "This war, it was not started by our people." "Not truly. What do you mean?" "There is a third party," Zara continued. "A coalition of weapons manufacturers and military industrialists from both our species. They engineered the conflict. The attacks that started this war on both sides were false flags." Marcus felt his blood run cold. "That's impossible." "The evidence was manufactured," Corinth said. "We discovered this truth only weeks ago. Zara and I are intelligence officers, not soldiers. We were trying to reach a human diplomatic channel when we were shot down. By our own people, Marcus. By those who profit from the war. They will kill anyone who threatens to expose them," Zara added. "Human or Drakari, we have evidence, data cores hidden in our ship's wreckage, but we cannot retrieve them alone and we cannot trust official channels." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, his mind reeling. Everything he'd been told, everything he'd believed about this war. "You want me to help you get that evidence," he said quietly. "We want you to keep our secret," Zara corrected. "We will retrieve the evidence ourselves once we heal. But if we fail, if we do not survive what comes next, someone must know the truth." "Why me?" The dragons looked at each other, then back at him. Because, Corinth said, you chose to see us as people when you had every reason not to. That kind of humanity, true humanity, is rare. It is worth fighting for, worth dying for. Marcus stood, looking up at these magnificent creatures who had entrusted him with a truth that could change everything. I'll keep your secret, but I'll do more than that. He pulled out his data pad. I know people. Journalists, activists, people who ask uncomfortable questions. If you get that evidence, I'll help you get it to the right hands. Zara lowered her head until her massive eye was level with Marcus's face. You would risk your life for peace between our species? Marcus thought of all the friends he'd lost to this war. The colonies destroyed, the families torn apart. If there was even a chance that this war was built on lies, if there was a possibility of ending it. Someone has to, he said simply. As dawn broke over the station, the dragons were gone, vanished into the network of maintenance tunnels that Marcus had shown them. He stood alone in Dock 7, the weight of their secret heavy on his shoulders. The war continued. But now one human mechanic knew the truth, and sometimes that's all it takes to change the galaxy.